You may have heard about this guy, Andrew Tate. So much shit comes out of his mouth that his asshole should be jealous. But he's still making at least $60 million a year. This is primarily because of a training program he runs called Hustlers University. The way it works is you pay 50 bucks a month and you get access to what Andrew Tate says is the greatest training you will ever receive. But where it gets interesting is every member of this Hustlers University gets their own referral link. So if a student refers someone new to join the school, they get half their membership fee. And this goes on and on and on with every new person who joins. So it's in all of Andrew Tate's students' best interest to keep sharing his clips along with their own referral link, because they're potentially gonna make some money from it. This is what a modern day pyramid scheme looks like. And it's not like he's teaching anything groundbreaking, he's just making you think that he is. And as long as people keep listening to top G con men like this dickhead, people like Andrew Tate are gonna exist because they can make a lot of money just by appearing confident and saying clickbaity shit. This Karen got on a school bus. She had a can of pepper spray in her hand and she sprayed all the students that were inside the bus. This happened just yesterday in Georgia. That morning, Karen was waiting for her kid to get on the bus and she got into a pretty big argument with one of the neighbors. And I'm guessing Karen was losing because when the bus pulled up, she got into another argument, but this time with the driver. And Karen decided if she can't win the argument, the next best thing she can do is get on the bus and pepper spray all the kids and the driver. But within minutes, police showed up and arrested Karen, whose real name is actually Shaquille Kyler. And she's being charged with child cruelty, trespassing onto private property, 3 counts of battery, and disrupting the operation of a school bus. Oh, also a $7,000 bail. It's expensive to be a Karen, it really is. The good news is no one had any permanent injuries, but I especially feel bad for Karen's kid because he's got to be raised by a brain-dead human like this. 2 days ago, a few vegans walked into a store and started to pour milk on the floor. They were protesting the brutality of the dairy industry. This happened in a big British store called Harrods or Harrods? Harrods? I think it's the way British people pronounce hair rod. But anyway, this video went crazy viral, but for all the wrong reasons. These protesters are literally the laughingstock of the internet right now. This is the worst way you can protest something. You walk into a store and steal their milk and pour it on the ground. And you know, some dude organized this and thought he had a great idea. We're gonna walk in there, we're gonna pour milk, it's gonna be a win. If you want to get people on the internet passionate about your cause, don't walk into a store and fucking pour milk on the floor. No one's gonna give a fuck and you're gonna be a public enemy. Instead, these protesters should have walked in and just whipped it out. Take a photo of it and then tweet it out with a hashtag cock for livestock or something like that. That's how you assert dominance over the $800 billion dairy industry. Think about how crazy viral that would actually be. You probably get arrested, but that would make it all the more hilarious. Imagine going on vacation with your partner of 34 years, and the last thing you see is him pointing the barrel of a shotgun right at you. That's exactly what Larry Rudolph did to his wife Bianca Rudolph. They were on a hunting trip in Zambia, and Larry initially told authorities that his wife shot herself while reloading her gun. The FBI got involved in this case because an American had lost their life overseas. They believed Larry, and for a few years, no one even thought there was anything wrong. Larry went back to America, cashed in his wife's $5 million life insurance policy, and began a relationship with his office manager. Believe it or not, she would turn out to be his biggest mistake. Because one day, Larry and his new lover were in a restaurant and they got into an argument. And at some point, Larry blurted out, "I killed my wife for you!" When you say shit like that, people tend to notice. And notice they did because Larry was immediately arrested. The case was reopened and Larry was charged with and convicted of killing his wife. His sentence will be announced in the next few days, but he's probably gonna spend the rest of his life behind bars. 18-year-old Ruben Zarate was looking for a place to rob. He needed to make a few bucks fast. So he decided to rob a car repair shop. Car repair shops aren't exactly known for having a lot of money, so there's his first mistake. Ruben walked in there with a gun in his hand and spoke to the first person he saw, which was a mechanic who worked there. Ruben demanded they give him all the money they have right now. But the mechanic convinced Ruben that all the money they had was locked in the back in a safe. And only the manager who was coming in later that day knew the password. So Ruben left a callback number telling them to call him when the manager arrived so he could come back and rob them later. His second mistake was that he thought this would actually work. And his third mistake is the idiot actually came back later. At which point the cops had already been called. They were there and waiting for Ruben to arrive. They arrested him right away and sent him packing. This homeless man went up to this guy's car and begged him for money. Instead, this guy offered the homeless man a job. He said, "Come do yard work for my company and I'll pay you 15 bucks an hour." The homeless man refused the job and got aggressive and started to swear. This guy was having none of it. So he went home and made his own sign, one that said he offered the homeless man a job, but he refused. And then he stood behind the homeless guy all day with his sign telling other drivers not to pay him any money. And this actually worked. Nobody was giving this guy any more money. Guys like this are the reason homeless people get such a bad rep. Because this guy probably knows he can make more money by begging for it. This guy doesn't want a job for the money. He just wants the money without working for it so he can go and spend it on booze and cigarettes. And homeless people who need actual help are not able to get it because of guys like this. But the pettiness on this guy is unmatched. And I'm sure a lot of homeless people would have been very grateful if they got his job offer. Texas is the only state that doesn't allow death row inmates to choose their last meals. And it's all because of this asshole, Lawrence Brewer. He just had to go be a dick. That guy was on death row for murder, and he was scheduled to be executed, so they asked him what his last meal request was. And Lawrence requested that for his last meal, he get 2 chicken fried steaks, a triple patty bacon cheeseburger, a large ham and cheese omelet, a big bowl of fried okra, 1 pound of barbecued meat, 3 fully loaded fucking fajitas, a meat lover's pizza, 1 pint of ice cream, peanut butter fudge, and to wash it all down, 3 root beers. The prison cooks made everything he requested. And when they brought it to him, Lawrence was like, I'm good, I'm not hungry. He didn't eat a single bite before he was executed. Some Texas lawmaker heard about this and he was like, hell no, this ain't happening again, bud. And now Texas death row inmates have to have the regular prison meal as their last meal. All because of this no longer breathing uselessness. How do vegans come up with such stupid ways to protest? Yesterday, a group of vegans put themselves into these concrete shoes and stood outside Starbucks holding up a sign because they're tired of the 50-cent upcharge on soy milk. These guys literally thought it was a good idea to pour wet concrete onto their feet, wait 1 or 2 days for it to dry, and then have somebody carry them in front of a Starbucks so they can hold a sign about how much they hate paying 50 cents upcharge for soy milk. Do you literally have nothing better to do with your time? Some of the idiot protesters couldn't get their feet out. No surprise there, it's fucking concrete. What did you expect? So ambulances had to be called for these guys, wasting even more taxpayer dollars. A few of them were also arrested because they shut down an entire street because of their dumbass protests. These vegans, through their actions, are making a dickhead company like Starbucks look like the good guy. And it makes me feel bad for all the other cool vegans I know. The saddest part, these dummies probably feel like they accomplished their life mission. Jim Carrey got a phone call and was told that he had 10 minutes to live. He was in Hawaii when this happened. His assistant called him and told him that Russia had just launched a ballistic missile which was headed directly towards Hawaii and would be there in 10 minutes. Then Jim Carrey and everybody else on the island got this text telling them to seek shelter immediately and that this wasn't a drill. Jim Carrey tried calling his daughter, but she wasn't answering. And upon realizing he had only a few minutes left to live, he walked out onto the beach and just watched the waves hitting the shore. And he thought to himself, hey, I've lived a pretty good life. And he spent the next few minutes thinking of all the reasons he had to be grateful that he got the chance to live this life. He realized that he had so many things that he was grateful for and he couldn't help but smile even though he knew he was gonna die in the next few minutes. But it turns out it was a false alarm and there was no missile coming for Hawaii. When asked about this experience later on and whether or not it changed him, he simply said 8 words. When all is lost, then all is found. Useless piece of shit in this photo is a woman named Marka Bodine. Marka was a teacher and just today she was sentenced to 60 days in prison. Her crime was that she had been sexually abusing one of her 13-year-old students for the past 3 years. Since the student was 10, she had been abusing him. She had sent this student a lot of videos, a lot of photos, and other things that a teacher should never send to one of their students. She admitted that her and this student had sex multiple times inside her classroom and also multiple times inside her car. The prosecutors wanted her to go to prison for 40 years. But the dickhead judge only gave her 60 days. Imagine for a second if the genders were reversed in this scenario and Marka was a male teacher and this male teacher sexually abused a 10-year-old female student for 3 years. That teacher would be locked up and the key thrown away. But this bitch gets 60 days even though she literally admitted to abusing a minor for a long time. I hope the other prisoners smash this fuckhead's teeth in when she's in there.